Come on, Elizabeth Jess, because the show is the best.
Alright, real live.
Hey, guess what? It's Jess the Ska Kid and the Knights of the Round Table.
Gift points. Beer guy.
And on the phone tonight with us from, we're gonna just say for all sakes and purposes, Denton, Texas, we have Mark and Trevor from the band Madaline, who just released a new EP. So we're gonna be talking with them. But before we do that, we have 2 Supernova Ska tickets to give away. Supernova Ska Festival is this weekend in Virginia, and we have a little competition for you. So we have a 2-hour show. You have 2 hours to get your 10 friends to subscribe to YouTube, the YouTube channel. Go subscribe to the Jess the Ska Kid YouTube channel. Those friends have to message the Jess the Ska Kid page on Facebook and tell us who sent them to subscribe and why they think that they should get the tickets to go to Supernova. So that's the competition for tonight. At the end of our 2 hours, that's it. It'll be closed. So get 10 friends to subscribe to YouTube, have a message to the Jess page on Facebook, and tell us who referred you and why you think you get to go. Okay? Good.
Do it.
Good. So, welcome, guys.
Hey. Hey, how's it going?
It's wonderful.
Hello, Wisconsin.
Ha ha ha. Well played, sir. Well played. So on the phone with us
Only
tonight,
every band does that.
I know, we do it too. We're in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Ha 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 ha. So, introductions. Mark, you want to go first?
My name is Mark, and I play guitar, sing, and otherwise manage Madaline.
My name is Trevor. I play bass in Madaline.
And you guys are located in?
Denton, Texas.
Denton, Texas.
And
Which is about 50 miles or 1 hour north of Dallas.
how long have you guys been a band?
We've been a band just about 4 years this month.
Awesome. And who are the other members in your band who aren't on the phone with us tonight? You want to announce who the rest of your band lineup is?
Yes, we have Adeline Cherry. She's our trumpet player. She also sings in the band. We have Samson Lansdowne, who's our trombone player. Daniel,
We've got
is drums.
Danny.
Did you say Billy? I don't have a Billy.
Yeah. Well, no, not anymore.
No, we also have Eric Pato on guitar, and I don't know Jason's last name. Jason plays saxophone.
This is Cooley. I'm Jason Cooley.
Oh, that's a really cool last name. I don't know, I didn't know that.
You don't know your bandmates?
Well, he's new. He's new. He just joined us about, let's say, almost a month ago.
And so then, you've been around for 4 years, but you just mentioned you have new members. Who are original members from your band?
Mark, Trevor, Adeline, and Daniel.
So the 4 of you.
Just together.
So
And now we have 7.
you have an upcoming show tomorrow, correct?
June 1st.
I'm a week ahead. I apologize.
It's okay.
And where are you guys playing?
I'm playing at Lola's. Lola's is a venue in Fort Worth, which is pretty much in the same metro area that we're in. And we'll be playing with Sally Majestic, which is another great local band, and the Toasters from New York.
That's amazing.
Nice. Pretty cool.
The Toasters are going to be in Madison, here in Wisconsin, on June 7th. They're going to play with Courtesy of Tim. They're a ska band who has played our basement. So very cool that you get to do that. How'd that show get set up? How did you get that?
Sally Majestic, the local band that's playing with us, asked if we could play with them. We played with the Toasters.
Like good 3
2 or 3 other times. So I'm sure that they've seen us with them on a bill before and felt that that was a comfortable addition. We like playing with those guys. They're obviously, ska legends at this point, but Really great to work with whenever we come through in town.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, what does it feel like getting to play with a original 1980s ska band that kind of kicked off Moon Ska and set the stage for what ska is now here in the U.S.?
Feels pretty good, just being able to, we're not only getting able to go to those shows, but also contribute to the overall experience that everyone gets to see. We bring a different flavor of ska, and I think it builds a history, of our show of ska in the shows that we play. Recently we've also played with Bad Manners, so that was also very cool.
That's awesome.
Somewhat of a similar feel, with that that old school in there as well.
How did you get to play tell us about the Bad Manners show. That's awesome.
So we played that Bad Manners show.
I think we got thrown on there last minute, right?
Yeah, it was a Houston band that fell off, and the owner for the venue out in Dallas, asked us if we could get on there last minute. It was like an anniversary type show for the venue, and he had gathered a lot of touring bands to kind of showcase, and I guess when those guys kind of fell through, he gave us a call and kind of made it happen. We were going to go to the show. We were going to the show anyways. So.
How long ago was that?
What was that, like a month or two ago, Trevor?
Yeah, I think so.
March, April. Yeah.
Is it easy to get to play on a stage with a legendary ska band?
The answer to that is no.
So
we just do our best. I'll be honest with you. I've been playing punk rock music with some ska in there, going on 13, 14 years, and I've just been quite blessed and at the opportunities that Madaline has had. We bring a different attitude and a different feel to a very familiar genre, and it's just been real successful, and we've been humbled and happy at everything that we've gotten to do. So being able to get on these shows, we don't take lightly. I mean, there have been probably a small handful of shows that I'd consider bigger opportunities that we've been on, but we take them as we can get them and just kind of run with it and have a great time.
So I have a question for you. What was your wow moment? What was that point where you were like, oh wow, we've made something of this?
Wait, repeat that. What was that?
Your wow moment when you're playing as a band. What was the show that you guys played that was like, oh man, we've actually made something of this?
I think when we got to I think it's when we got to play with I think there was like within a span of like 2 or 3 months we got to play with Mephistopheles, and we got to play with State Ferris. It was really cool. And it's kind of like, hey, this is kind of like this is a little bit more than we've been doing, so just kind of be humble by it,
Definitely the State Ferris show. That was like a proud moment for all of us.
Yeah, we worked really hard for that one.
So with these, I mean, you've dropped a lot of big names now.
Yeah.
And around here, it would seem that it's very difficult, especially in Chicago, for the local ska scene to be able to play those shows unless you are quite an established band like the Crombies or Deal's Gone Bad or something like that.
I think it has a lot to do with, and I feel like I'm being pretty honest here, the saturation of band.
Yeah.
In the area. You look at smaller communities that have like, hardly any ska bands in them, that maybe have one or two like local, acting ska bands in an area that maybe like 10, 15 years ago, it was decent. So bigger bands are still coming to these cities because the older people that don't really go out so much still come out for their shows, the more established bands, and the opportunities seem to come to those younger bands to be able to participate. So it's somewhat a little easier to get on when you get into places like Chicago that have not only a more saturation of bands, but really good bands. It becomes a little harder to pick from. You know, every band in the scene can't be on the same show at the same time. So I think a lot of these bands shoot for these shows, but I also understand that aspect of it as well.
So going this follows up. This next question follows up with your saturation statement. Would you say then that, you know, I would say that around here you see the same bands on the same bills over and over again. Yeah. Would you say that people need to diversify and kind of break up who they're playing with and try to reach out to other people to bring them so that there is more saturation?
I think that I think this works for any band genre, but I'll speak to the ska bands. I mean, in Chicago, we've been a handful of times, and each time we met some really great people, played some really great bands, and the hospitality we've been shown has been great. But I'll speak to them. If you're going to be a serious band, pretty much we learned pretty much from the start that if we want to play every weekend, or if we want to play 3 to 4 to 5 shows a month, all of those can't be, you know, within 30 miles of our home. You know, we have to make sure that we're reaching out to other people, reaching out to, you know, for Dallas, you know, those shows would be like Oklahoma City or Austin or Houston or even Shreveport, Louisiana, and things like that. Things that they're somewhat regional. So if we want to keep playing, if we want to keep playing live, then we got to do it like that. So I wouldn't say don't keep playing, but maybe if the goal is to like, hey, we want to play every weekend, we want to play on this schedule, maybe be a little more smart about it. That way, that one, you're not taking away from newer bands, and two, you're going to increase the draw when you do play, because you're going to have those people like, oh, I saw him play. I'll catch the next shift.
I mean, it's kind of a risk going like a little bit further because it does require a little bit more money. So, like, I mean, if you do it enough, the risk pays off.
Right. So what you're saying is get out of your own city. Make a name for yourself by playing your metro area?
I think I think any band that has, if you can get yourself to your local show, it wouldn't be much more harder to get out a little bit further. Now, not like a full-blown tour. I do encourage touring. It's a great experience. I think it's kind of like a rite of passage for many bands that are trying to go to the next level. However, I mean, if you're going to drive 30 plus minutes to go to, let's say, a venue in town, go 90 minutes. Go to the next city or 2 cities over, somewhere where, you know, maybe at first it's not going to be like, oh, that was a great show, but maybe you're going to meet some people and you're going to build it up. And, you know, it just gives you kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Foundation.
Would you also say that you then have to kind of take a risk on maybe a smaller payout at the end of the night in order to get your name out there?
At first you do, yeah.
And I think every business has its investment capital, and, you know, time and money is. I mean, it's going to be the same unless you're just incredibly lucky from the beginning. And every band's going to have to, you know, kind of put their time in and, you know, take a little bit of a risk. You know, you're gonna spend some gas money that you're probably not going to make back at the show every once in a while. Or just in the end, you know, if you put your heart into it, you really enjoy what you're doing, and it's not really going to matter in the end.
So what is the goal of Madaline now that we've kind of talked about your, it sounds like, business plan?
Oh, shit.
We'll just throw all the blocks on the table. I mean, I think every musician that continues to play music, you know, has their head in the cloud. Oh, I'm gonna be doing this with my music career. I'm gonna be doing that. In the end, all of us have our day job. Some of us have children, and, you know, we have our lives, but then also lead this double life to where we're touring, we're playing, we're recording albums, we're doing these things, and somewhere I feel that I have no purpose other than to create art. I'm a painter by trade, and it's just another creative outlet, and I know that I'll always be doing it. at some point, would I love to be making music for a living? Absolutely. It's not a luxurious lifestyle, but happiness is what it is. And,
How easy... Is that your job?
No, 1 second.
We're just going to put the internet
Sorry.
on hold.
I'm outside. He met with a neighbor. Or my fiance met with a neighbor. Yeah, I'm at home in Garland. Real life things happen. Go on.
So my next question was going to be, with 7 people in a band and, day jobs and children like we just mentioned, how easy is it for you guys to schedule and play out? And how often are you playing out?
Well, I mean, it's not an easy feat to accomplish, and I let from the beginning when the band started, I was up front, and the goals of the band, what we wanted to do, what I wanted to accomplish, and made sure that was something everybody wanted to do, and everybody understands that the band bus is moving, and I'd like everybody to be on it, but in the end, we're going to have to make our own decisions for ourselves. So what that means is I try to consciously book all of our shows at least 8 to 12 or even more weeks than that out. I book as far in advance as I possibly can, and that gives everybody an opportunity to get the time that they need off. I mean, it's a lot harder for a band with, more than 4 people in it to book things like that, but we get really excited. We take pride in what we do. There's no other feeling than getting up on stage and performing our art, and we make the time that we need to do that.
So I know that you guys just recently, unfortunately, were unable to come up to this region. Are there any plans for you in the future this year to come up here and play, since you just released a new album?
So we released The Coast is Clear last May, so about a year ago. It is the most recent recording we have.
We're working on new stuff. We actually have most of it done.
Cool.
We have a new album we're working on right now. We haven't done a full length in going on 2 years. Everything else has been small releases. But we'd love to get back up there. I know my wife and I are expecting a baby in September, so all of our focus is going to be on recording and getting everything that we need done with that. That way, when we do come back in January, February, we have some good material behind us and a good platform to play more local and regional touring.
It was all set. We were still planning to come up here until maybe the week before, and we spent so much time looking for a vehicle. Just our current van stopped turning right the last time we took it out. So it's a funny story that happens more often than we like to admit.
Did you say that your van stopped turning right?
Yeah, in Oklahoma City. That was a fun trip home.
So only left-handed turns in your van. It said, "Fuck the right wing, left only."
Yeah. Yeah, so...
Your van is liberal as fuck. No.
If you make 3 of them, it makes
We
it
get, we could drive straight and left. We went up
That's
You think your van's...
we had a 5-degree turning radius on the right, so we could get on the highway and off. That's it.
Oh,
That's
wow,
scary.
bad.
Yeah, so we got to, not only did we got to Oklahoma City, played our show, spent the night, and then the next morning we realized that we couldn't make right-hand turns. So...
What does it do when you make a right-hand turn?
It doesn't.
We just turn the wheel all the way to the right and it just goes straight.
That's a bad tie rod.
Oh, fuck. That's bad, man.
That's a tie rod.
So we drove from Oklahoma City back to Denton in it, but we also stopped in Norman to play our show there.
Dedicated.
It's an easy fix.
Oh man, I was like, we gotta pass through Norman anyways.
Did you, in Oklahoma City, because you've dropped that a few times. Do you guys play with the Big News?
Oh yeah, we love the Big News.
Good.
That's our sister band.
Yeah?
We love those guys.
Oh,
Yeah.
we love
And you know who Flippin' the Combined Effort are? Because they said you were their sister band.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Damn!
Oh, wow.
So we as Jess the Ska Kid and crew have had quite an influx of all sorts of genres of music from Denton. So tell us a little about your music scene and how diversified it is, and, you know, is local music as easily as accessible as it would seem since all these people are, you know, blowing us up?
So the music scene in Denton is very diverse. The University of North Texas is pretty much Denton Central. We have quite a bit large music school. Yeah, it's a big music school. It's one of the best in the region and in the United States for performance. And Denton's acclaimed for its jazz program. Now, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't a part of that. We did. Most of us did go to the University of North Texas for several other degrees. We have our trombone player Samson. He has performance degrees from there as well. You're probably talking to the two least acclaimed musicians in the band today, but very diverse scene in Denton. Because of the influx of student population, we do see the music scene change every couple of years. So as far as I use the term popular music goes, there's not a big scene for that.
Well, that's fine, because we don't dabble in that shit anyway.
but no, we've seen venues, old venues and new venues come and go, and the music scene's always changing, very fluid. Always house shows. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised that there's lots of young artists coming out of there.
What's your favorite venue in Denton to play? If anybody is listening tonight and they're like, "Hey, I'm setting up a place. Where should people play?"
Give me a ring. We're gonna play at Dan's house.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we got some places up there, but because it's a very popular stopping point between Oklahoma and Dallas. There's just a lot going through there, and not always the best people in control of those things. I'm an advocate for a lot of touring bands. If I don't book them, I usually send them to the right person. It usually works out a whole lot better that way. We have a convenience store venue in Denton that's probably our favorite. That's called the Midway Craft House.
Yeah.
And I recommend that.
It's a convenience store.
Trevor seconds it. So, we've had quite a number of bands, it would seem, from your metro area, but we're going to say the Plains. I wasn't as familiar or thought that the Plains of America had as much ska. No. So how's the ska scene? How regularly do you guys have big names come through? I mean, you guys dropped a whole bunch, so if a ska kid is trying to relocate...
I'll tell you this, Jeff, and I haven't been to every city in the United States, and I'm going to say this somewhat biasedly, but I feel like it's pretty true. Dallas, Metro, Denton, wherever you want to call it, probably one of the most functioning and strong ska scenes in the United States right now.
Clearly.
We have a lot of bands that are ska punk, third wave. We have some traditional ska bands. We got some older ska bands that probably don't play as much as we do, but are very much so playing these shows. I put together a festival every year called Ska by Ska West, and we accommodate a lot of touring bands, and I use this event as kind of like a central location for bands that are touring to meet each other, to create these contacts with one another, so that they can, one, build their band, but also just encourage this national network of bands that are touring and that are playing ska, funk, and things like that. So, as much help as I can possibly be, I do that, and I take pride in the festival, and I try to make sure that Dallas is well represented, by its bands, and also, how great we can throw a show and take care of all of these bands, make sure that they get the compensation they need to continue their tour. And this also builds a lot of tours in the month of April.
So Ska by Ska West, is that kind of a knockoff of South by Southwest, which also happens?
Absolutely. And the best way possible. Yeah. So the first one we did was just Madaline Ska Festival, and everybody's like, yeah, we can't play Ska, playing South by Southwest, or sorry, we're on our way, we get this. It's like, nah, this is my Ska by Ska West Festival. So it was a joke at first, but it worked, and everybody has fun with it.
How easy is it to put a fest together for those out there listening and who might have aspirations of collaborating and putting a fest together? Give us the ins and outs of what that's like.
Don't do it unless you like stress. Don't do it if you're afraid of losing money. Don't do it if you think it's going to be easy. You need to go into it thinking that not only are you not going to make any money, you're going to lose money, and you need to. It's bigger than you. So it's
like half a year of planning.
Yeah, more than that. But I run and operate this thing. I do all the planning myself, and then I just have my band and some close friends that kind of help me oversee some things, and making sure that I have a strong venue behind me that is understanding of what we're trying to accomplish. And on that, I mean, at this point, we're going on our 5th year next year, so I kind of have an idea of what I'm looking at. So it does get better. If this is something you want to do in your area, like it's a great achievement if you can pull it off. Earning the respect of your peers and other bands is a great payoff. I started doing this because I grew up seeing things like this happen, and then when I was playing music, there was nothing like this going on, and it's like they say, if you want something done, you gotta do it yourself. And
music is
just yeah.
Hold on, there's a comment. What does the comment say, kid?
From the Phantom.
MILF 2009 Music is Life Fest. 2019.
So, my question, you said it's been going 5 years, and recently there have been a number of festivals that have died because there aren't pre-sale tickets, there isn't money to continue on, and you already said going into it that you should expect to lose money. So how do you continue to keep this going, and how large are your outcomes for this? And how, I know it's a 3-part question, how can people implement some of your tips that you'd offer up so that these festivals don't continue to die?
Well, the thing is if you're going to rely on pre-sale tickets, your festival's not going to happen. Because nowadays, just with the society that we're in, everybody's super glued to their smartphones and computers. It's not I found this flyer at a record store, I'm going to a show age anymore. It's, I'm interested in this event, yeah. And then they forget about it, and it pops up like a day before on their feed, and then they end up going. So that being said, we did, I had a lot of guarantees for this festival in the thousands of dollars. I covered 3/4 of it in the first night of the 2-day event. So you just have to do a lot of legwork, and you can't expect people to just show up from a Facebook invite. You just got to stay in people's faces about it. We had 9 pre-sale tickets this year.
So it's not obnoxious when I'm like, subscribe to my channel, like my page.
They only had 9
pre-sale.
Out of all the
it's about, you know, and also, I mean, if this was just a big show for Madaline, I mean, obviously it's not gonna be just the same outcome. It's a lot of bands working together for the same cause, for the same show, reaching out to the same people, and just like, yo, I know all of these bands. I'm going to go after this. So Dallas has a very, very functioning punk rock and ska community. We typically work in the same. It's very integrated too. Like you know, like one show is like, you know, 75% ska, like 25% punk, and then, you know, any percentage, like we have it all here.
What's your question, beer guy?
So, do you find it difficult or easy to work with other bands as far as setting up events? Do you run across a lot of hiccups in the system, or does it go over pretty well because of the area and because of all the music that's going on there?
I think that you have to have a great working relationship with venues and bands in the area beforehand. And, you know, if you just started your band yesterday and you're just getting involved, you don't really know anybody, I wouldn't start off with making a festival happen. Having a working relationship with these bands, making sure that everybody feels like they have a place, that they serve a part in this, and that it's not a Mark festival, it's not a Madaline festival, it's a community festival that we coordinate, making sure that all the local bands are given the same opportunity as a touring band, making sure that everybody's valued and things like that. So it's about, you know, it's a scratch my back system, and just making sure everybody's happy, and that's what we aim to do. You know, we've learned a lot along the way, and understanding that this festival is bigger than my band is, you know, something you just got to realize at some point, if this band ever, you know, isn't playing shows anymore, I assume I'll still be putting this festival together.
Very neat.
So basically, being humble goes a long way in that aspect.
Yeah. Sometimes, you know, annual shows will come along, or a festival or other, and getting some good notoriety and making sure that, yeah, I've been to that show, it wasn't very cool, I'm not going to go next time, making sure that doesn't happen. You just have to find ways to build value in it, make sure that people want to go to it. If you try to go too big too soon, ultimately the festival probably isn't going to do very well unless you have deep pockets. So, you know, I want to say that this past festival, the last time I saw us was great. It was like a coming home, and like it was. I mean, like we all met all these bands on the road, and it was just great seeing everybody again. It took a lot of like years of building connections for this one, and like this one like felt great. So definitely took the cake. We had Dan P last year. And I'm hoping maybe we'll get him back next year for the anniversary. I've been talking to him, and it seems like something he wants to do if we can get the calendars to match up.
Kip got to play his guitar on stage.
That's right. Yeah, you still got that picture.
Kip got to play with him when he was in Chicago.
Wait, say that again. I'm sorry.
I said Kip, one of our nights here, got to play with Dan on stage at the Metro. And got to play his guitar.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Right on.
He got to play with MU330.
That's badass, man. Congrats. Dan is such a sweet human being.
He is.
And we flew him in from California. He had a great time at the show. He wrote, you know, just as he does in most of his other shows, he wrote us a Scottish song that performed that night. We took him back to my house. He stayed the night, and then we took him back to the airport in the morning. And he's an awesome guy, and just down to earth, and just something that, you know, most people don't expect from performers these days. And he definitely breaks the mold there.
So if you do this in April, when do you start planning your festival? And do you get sponsorships then to do that?
This is all grassroots. We have no sponsors.
It's all what? Say that.
There's no.
Oh, wow.
There's no startup capital. I'm lucky enough to be a graphic designer where I can make all of my flyers and things like that on my own, and I don't have to worry about things like that. So some of the smaller expenses I don't have to sweat. And usually, a guy who can do something, or you can do this, he can do that, she can do that, just kind of everybody kind of putting their heads together, building something. But I usually start putting this thing together usually like around September.
So my big question then, Mr. Grassroots, how the fuck you pay these touring bands, and how do you fly people out? Because I've now asked several other people who put festivals on that have died, Midwest Ska Fest, Scapleton, Supernova, Fistful of Ska, Reggae Fest. They had sponsorships because they had no money in order to do that. So talk to us about this grassroots effort, and how do you pay people then? Because that's what everybody said. The crux of the matter is getting people to come play because they all want to be paid.
Well, basically, when I start off, I try to decide how many bands that I want on this, and then I try to determine how many headliners I have, and I try to come up with before I even think about bands, I try to think of what is a reasonable budget for all of my music that I don't think I would have a problem raising funds for. And it's usually around the $2,000 to $3,000 mark. We first talked to the local bands, letting them know that, hey, this is not a money making opportunity. We pay the local bands, but it's not in the hundreds of dollars that we're paying local bands. It's less than that. And then I always try to determine what my headliners are going to be, and then what it's going to take to get the headliners out. And then I'm left with whatever's left of the budget, and then I start looking at regional and touring bands and trying to figure out is this it? I have this going on. This is what I can offer. Is this something that you want to do? And it's not a low ball offer. It is what it is. If they can do it, they can. If they can't, they can't. And that's just how it works. Most people want to be here for this. The word started getting around that there's this festival in Texas that people want to come to, and they'll usually take a little bit of a hit. But I always encourage, if you're coming from across state, making sure that you try to make somewhat of a tour out of it, because if you're going to fly into the show and fly out, this isn't going to be the show for you. Mm-hmm. So that being said, and then because this festival is all about touring, what I've seen more so on this year that passed is that the bands that are coming to the festival are working with one another. I had several bands that were coming from the east, the west, the north, playing 2 to 3 shows apiece on their way here and on their way back home. So
fucking collaboration, right?
Say it again?
I said collaboration?
Absolutely.
Oh my god. It's almost like everything I said on fucking last week's show, guys.
Oh.
I'm not crazy. Good. Because I've been told by several other people that my view on trying to get a collaborative effort across the U.S. for people who like ska to try to do a festival, a touring fest that has different stops, that rotate through different cities, would be completely out of the question because there'd be no money in it. Good luck. But you've now further made me want to do this. So
to all the naysayers?
So you want to come do Kano Ska? Back to the beach fest?
Yeah. I mean, I can't fathom in my foreseeable future this being a back to the beach. I'm not much of a businessman, and I'm not much of a high stakes gambler. on things like that, and my pockets definitely aren't deep. So I don't know as far as
That was definitely just a play
who knows
because
what the
we're next to
future
the
holds,
beach.
but as far as I can see, this is something that hopefully at some point the goal for this festival is getting to where that there's a notoriety to where I know I'm not going to have to worry about making sure every band gets paid to where it can get a larger band or two for the festival and then not have to really worry.
Mm-hmm. So, as far as next year's concerned, do you want to give a sneak peek as to who would you like to have as a headliner, or we can't talk about that yet?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're gonna hold off, but I've been kind of mapping out what the budget looks like, and it really just depends on where we end up doing it because there are costs involved in that as well. So that's like kind of step two, where the initial budget would be step one. So once we get all of that, then we can kind of start putting together. But it's definitely something that I'm going to be working on continuously.
Awesome. So we're almost at the top of the hour. So how about we talk about Madaline and where people can find you, as well as that EP that just came out.
Yeah, if you're in Texas, you can find us on the Warped Tour in July, and then we are on Spotify, iTunes, and all that hoopla. Just search for Madaline or search for Madaline Ska. Madaline Ska is usually our username on most platforms. We have MadalineSka.com, which I apologize isn't super updated. Facebook is probably the fastest way to get a hold of the band for many matters. I typically moderate most of that. If you're a ska band that wants to play with us, just don't be scared. Just give us a call. If we can do it, we can. If we can't, we can. We'll just do the best we can to take care of you. If you're just passing through and you need recommendations for a venue or other bands to play with, we'll help you out with that as well. So it's all about having a great time. It's all about helping one another. And I say this without a doubt continuously, and if you're a close friend, you know I say this a lot. This music that we do, all of us ska bands, when I first quit playing, punk rock and going straight to like a predominantly ska genre, I was dumbfounded at how competitive the genre was, that nobody wanted to kind of be friends with you. They just felt like they're kind of sizing you up, and I wasn't used to that. I come from a very unity central punk rock community here in North Texas, and that was very different for me. So this festival that we've been talking about for a while is to combat that. That was was the initial reason to do that. But I will say this: the music that we do, nobody has very different goals. Everybody wants to be successful. Everybody wants to be a star. Everybody wants to. Who doesn't want hundreds of people at their shows watching them? So when you think about that, we all have the same goal. We shouldn't be competing with one another, because you know what? The same person that's coming to your show, they're going to come to my show. We need to be playing shows together. We need to be smarter about how we're playing shows and making sure that if you're going to get an opportunity, then we need to be supportive of that opportunity, because the next opportunity will be mine. Or if I'm getting an opportunity, the next opportunity is going to be yours, because you know what? If you support one another, the fruit of that will be for everybody.
I just want to say personally that some of my goals, a lot of my goals in this band has already been reached, just like being out on the road. But I think the next step that I would like to see, and it's probably like a few years away, but I would just like to go, across the pond and play with like some bands in Europe, because there's so many great bands out there that I just can't even go see, this Famous Idea and Popes of Chilltown and Cut Capers and just all those bands. And I just would love to go play a show over there, or even just have the chance to just go see those bands.
Well, those those are not too far out of the reach for us. Those are goals that just take a little bit longer to get to.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you guys make, and everything is grassroots. It's a do-it-yourself, like when you recorded your album and such things. Do you guys utilize and go through like CD Baby? Sorry.
So I keep getting you off all of this. Go ahead.
I was going to say, when you make an album, do you utilize a musical platform to press and release that album, such as Music Baby or something like that? Or do you guys do it all yourself?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Oh
but,
my God.
we put together all of our CDs, and like we basically we record through a friend of ours, Eric Dano, through the holophonics. But as far as like how like the CDs like look and how we present them and the case and like any of our merch is pretty much is all made by us.
Awesome.
That's cool.
Grassroots. Hey, Midwest. Sounds like we need to get our shit and get it all together.
No
Put it
shit.
in a bag and get it together.
Bag it.
So,
Bag it.
you guys have been great and super informative and, I don't know, motivational.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much for coming on and spending this hour talking to us about your band and, you know, your outlook on this whole thing.
Oh.
Beer Guy
Thank you very much for having us.
Beer Guy has another
Yeah,
question.
thank you so much.
Yeah, so one
I'm
last
already excited for the next time we come out and talk in person.
Yeah, right? Holy shit, that's good. Maybe the crew could come to like Ska by Ska West and do the live stuff there.
Yeah, oh yeah, that'd be great. If you guys can make it out, that'd be great. Just give me a message and we'll talk about it.
So I have one last question. If there was one piece of advice to give any musician out there, a good piece of advice to carry on with their music when shit's tough, what would it be?
That piece of advice would be time. Time is the what's it called? Time is the biggest factor. If you can withstand time, you will be successful. If you feel there are a dozen bands shadowing you in your area, all you have to do is outlast them and just be as positive, be as helpful as you possibly can be. Don't worry about what your status is. Don't worry about where you fall in your scene. Just continue doing what you do. If you're proud and happy with what you're doing, then that's all that's going to matter, because other people will see the good that you're doing.
Yeah, along the same lines, like, you know, it's kind of put in the work. I mean, like, yeah, I know it's definitely not, there's been times where it wasn't easy for us, but, you know, we time and putting in the work and, you know, coming back and, like, seeing, like, you coming back to a show and seeing, like, old friends you haven't seen in a while and, like, it's just like, you have that those few shows that like mean so much to you. And,
yeah, I think probably one of the best shows. I still think to this day, probably like the best show we ever played was in Chicago. So that was pretty wild.
Yeah. At Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
We played there.
What?
And we played there like 2 years ago. There was like 400 kids at that place.
Yes, there was. Yep. I think that's debunked now. A lot of those do-it-yourself scene homes are being all closed down. The man.
Indeed.
So thank you very much, guys, for joining us tonight. Again, we've been speaking with Mark and Trevor from Madaline. That's Madaline. They are from Denton, Texas. You can find them on all social media platforms, Facebook, MadalineSka.com. And we're going to play their EP and a few other things from Bandcamp this evening for your listening enjoyment on the second half of the show.
And viewing pleasure.
Thanks, guys!
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Until we meet in person, we bid you adieu.
We will see you soon, I know it.
Yes. Bye!
Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks, bye.
Bye, Trevor.
So, again, grassroots fucking works. So don't look at me and say, "Oh, she's fucking crazy. This is never gonna work." First off, stop having that attitude. We've heard it from James White. We've heard it from these guys now. We've heard it from Thomas. All of these people are doing these things grassroots by saying, "Hey man, I might not be able to pay you the $800 you think you're worth. Want to come play for 2 so that we can get this shit going?" So, humble pie. And don't forget that, as they said, forget where you fall in the scene. Somebody likes you because they always come to your shit. So stop trying to backstab each other, and remember that the whole point, regardless if you like ska or any sort of other genre of music, if you want it to continue, there has to be unity. I guess I'm going to be on a soapbox every fucking show. Thanks for tuning in to the interview portion. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in a few short minutes to play for you Madaline so you know what they sound like. Okay?
Thanks.
Bye.